In the studio, what's your most combative experience when working on a project?
Probably working with Siobhán.
Yeah.
Does she ever go like, you're playing in the wrong mode? You should have listened to your first teacher that first lesson. It's in the wrong mode.
I mean, in that case, and like people yell, like, so I'll like be in here like jamming, like doing whatever to whatever Spotify song I have playing. And I'll hear her yell across the house, that was the wrong note. I'm like, f you, man. Like,
all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back for another episode of 2020. I'm Siobhán Cronin here with my cohorts and compatriots, Benny Goodman and Cory Peza. How's it going, guys?
It's going great.
Ben is leaning up against his mic. It's been a long day for him. I saw him this morning. We both did, obviously. He started with coffee, almost lost him. He was a little bit crazy today. Now he's on the tail end of the evening, settled down a little bit. How are you feeling today, Ben? You going to make it through this intro?
I'm here. Present.
So anyway, part two with the incredible Brock Richards, guitar player for Starset.
If you're looking for some real in-depth knowledge on studio monitors, microphones, guitars.
Siobhán, but one thing we didn't get to in the show that I'm very curious, why didn't he change his name to Brock Cronin?
The Richards have a legacy.
He could be
He's holding
Bronin.
on to that. Oh my gosh. It will eventually be Cronin Richards. It's one of those things where the name changing is such a pain in the ass.
How many diamonds will your mom give you if you do that?
Oh my gosh. No, my mom's fine with it. I mean, I can do whatever I want. But
Did she tell you you're killing your lineage?
She did call me today to say that somebody changed on Wikipedia that I'm now Siobhán Richards. I'm like, you're just now seeing this? I'm like, the Starset fans changed that ages ago.
That was totally me. I did that just for this bit. I'm so glad it came full circle.
Oh
Thanks,
my gosh.
Anne-Marie. You're the best.
Anne-Marie is another
Right on
person that
cue.
also makes a virtual appearance in almost every episode. But anyway, part two, definitely go back and listen to part one. We get into Brock's background with Live My Last, getting into Starset, getting into playing guitar.
You made him cry.
Yeah, I mean, I like to bring out the emotions in people. And as we learn in this episode, I definitely bring it out in Brock because whenever we work together, he's ready to kill me. So you get to hear a little bit more about the behind-the-scenes recording with Siobhán in this episode.
Yeah, we dive deep. So check it out, part two with Brock Richards.
My name is Benny Goodman. You're listening to 2020, which you can find at 2020-D on this.com on the Sound Talent Media Network. Thank you very much, Sound Talent Media. You can get it on Apple, on Spotify, and anywhere you can consume intellectual property like ours. Let me first introduce you to my cohorts, my compatriots, my friends, the people that I do this with. Siobhán Cronin.
Hey, Ben.
And Cory Peza.
How's it going?
And this week I am so happy to say that we finally, after at least 70-something episodes, got the better half of Shabrock onto the show.
I used to be the better half. Wow, what happened here? You totally just worked your crowd. He is schmoozing you, Brock. So anyway, in this episode, maybe we can get a little bit more into Brock's gear obsession, how he's an audiophile, all of the toys that we see in the YouTube cast here. We kind of and even just getting more into Starset, because we kind of ended the last episode, talking about Live My Last, how you kind of got your first into Starset, the first tour being in a van. So maybe let's pick it up from there. Obviously I've got insider information. We're in the same band, so I know kind of what it's like now with Starset, but.
Are we talking about gear? Or are we talking about Starset? Because
you had me going for
talking about gear, but
okay,
is that a Dyne Audio behind you, or is there that Focal?
Focal.
And what made you go with that Focal?
Because every time I walk into a room with like SM9s, which is a Focal speaker, you just like are left with this like blanket of bass. It's never overpowering. It's just like there, and it's just every song has like this.
Well, bass is omnipresent, right?
Yeah, but like the speaker has to.
So by definition, it's always there. Everywhere.
Just ignore what he says, Brock. You just have to get used to the fact this is what Ben does.
Some speakers can go down to 30 hertz, like SM9s, and then the ones I have. So, and that's what it's. Once you like like people don't hear a 30 hertz sine wave until like you do, and then it's like this blanket of sub bass. And that, anyway, I don't know where we're going with this.
Isn't that more like mid bass?
Mid bass.
Just kidding.
Anyway, that's why I chose Focal, because just I know what it did sound like. I don't have the money to test every monitor. Monitors are super expensive. So I just know what I've liked in the past, and every time I walk into a room with a Focal speaker that goes down to 30 hertz, I'm blown away. So that's why I bought Focal. Anyway, continue.
Well, we can continue with you. I mean, this is an interesting topic because, one thing I've noticed about Brock, getting to know him over the years, is he has an incredible ear. And aside from being, a great guitar player, good writer, I've looped him into mixing my stuff because for me, I'll record something and think it sounds great, and he'll walk in and be like, this is terrible. Or like we'll sit and like play 5 different snare sounds and ask me which one's the best. And I'm like, I don't know, they all sound the same to me. And apparently he hears all these different things. So, I mean, that's very cool to me that you're into all this audio stuff and you're able to appreciate all the different gear.
You know what's cool to me is that you guys complement each other. Because you are like a Jedi level musician, but on like a music theory level that like none of us could ever hope to attain. But you do see your humanity and your mortality and your limits when it comes to mixing and to using technology. Whereas Brock is like the goddamn mere space station. He's SpaceXing it over here with the fucking CERN collider underneath your fucking Circleville farm with soybeans and shit. And he's got like, dude, you know why these Focals sound good? Because the CERN underneath me is making a perfect 30 hertz sine wave.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think that's the only pair of Focal speakers in Circleville, Ohio.
Dude. That's probably the only pair in Ohio, period.
Probably. Yeah.
No, Dustin uses Focal. So that's where I was first introduced to him.
But isn't he in outer space right now? Like he's not, he lives in Ohio? I thought he was on a different planet.
Well, he lives above Cleveland. So, yeah.
That was a joke of a question. No. Dustin is even when present, always on a different planet. So
Dustin's like bass. He's omnipresent.
Omnipresent.
He's always here, but he's never here.
So my question for you, Brock, is how have you developed your ear, and what has gotten you into appreciating, even when it comes to guitar and tones and stuff? That's one thing that like I really love about what you focus on, is you've got a great ear for audio quality and for guitar tone quality, and that's something that I've fallen short on in some ways of like figuring out how to hear the difference in speakers or in a mix. So what got you interested in that? Like, why are you drawn to like audio stuff? Like, what is it that you love about all of this? I want to know.
I mean, I don't know. It's from like not having the money and the knowledge to be able to do exactly what you want. So you find a way to like make it work. And it's just like the struggle of taking something that sounds like crap and somehow mixing it into a song. And then all of a sudden you don't notice that it sounds like crap anymore, because all the stuff that you think that it's missing, you don't need anyway, because the other instruments are giving it to you.
I feel like I need to be in church just going, amen, amen, because I so relate with that, because, like people are like, why do you have so many guitars and you so gluttonous and all that? Like, and I get it, because like I'm obsessed, but dude, I had my first Fostex 4-track. I remember buying chromium dioxide high bias tapes to be like, dude, I could use Dolby C on this and not lose. But then it was like Dolby C takes out too much of the highs, so I got to go back down to Dolby B. And like you could technically do 6 tracks on that shit. And then I remember I got the NAMM Roland VS 1680, which was like, dude, they made a 311 record on this. This is the fucking shit. And it was the first time I ever listened to myself back on headphones. I was like, oh, wow, am I actually there? And blah, blah. And I just remember thinking to myself, holy shit, you could capture anything by doing this. And I worked in a music store, and I remember someone came in with a PRS with the birds, and I was like, oh my God, what is that beautiful, beautiful thing? Because I worked at downtown Worcester, which like, dude, you'd be lucky if you got like a Gibson Studio. Okay, like that was like fucking nice. Like, so like if you walk, so this guy walked in with a PRS, and I just remember asking my boss, like, what the fuck is that? And she was just like, oh yeah, I feel like people who buy PRSs like just like have them to put them on the walls. So I just remember thinking that PRS was like a fucking status symbol. And then, like, I remember seeing VHT, which you have in the background, like, in a Guitar World magazine, like, you could win this full stack. There's, like, the VHT with a value of, like, $5,950.
Still my favorite amp.
And I'm
Still
like, what
love
the fuck? It's worth $5,950. So when I first got signed, I walked into a fucking store and bought a VHT fucking Pitbull Ultra Lead for $6,000 with the fucking 212 and the 412. So I could have had like 612s. And I had the PRS. And I felt like, dude, I slept with that custom 22. I literally slept with it in my college dorm and said, I will never let you go, and thought that I had made it.
Yeah, just talking about like expensive gear. So like I've bought so much crap gear in my life. If somebody would have went back to my 16-year-old self and said, yo, play that Squier guitar forever until you can afford a guitar that's well over $1,000. Because like I grew up playing like, $200 guitar. Then I got a $400 guitar. Yep. Then I finally got a $800 guitar, but it's still missing something. And then like, I finally start buying like great guitars, like 15 and up. And then of course this PRS they just sent me. I mean, it's literally on a different planet. I've never played a guitar until when that came in, and I'm like, holy crap, it's on a whole different level.
Yeah, over time, if you invest in yourself with the gear, you actually save money. Like it's true, smart. Yeah. I can only imagine the shit that
I quote Marilyn Milian from the People's Court: "The cheap comes out expensive."
But some of the cheap stuff is great. Like some of the cheaper things are better than the expensive stuff. But the thing is, like, you got to know.
There's some things you don't want to fuck with. Like, listen, you can always buy SM57s. They'll always sound good. You have 20 SM57s.
And they'll never change a price in fucking 20 years.
But if you want, like, if you're going to spend the money, buy a good mono channel. Like a mono block. You just have one good preamp for everything. Just put your snare through it, put your fucking guitar through it, put everything. Because you want to know if you're going to fucking flex on the one channel you're recording all the time.
Yeah.
Trent Reznor.
That's true. I tell Siobhán that all the time.
He's always yelling at me about,
you need to buy like a nice preamp.
But it's every day is something different. I can't even keep track of it. It's
that's
like you need a nice
because there's
preamp.
so many toys out there that we don't own yet.
and every day I get
Listen, come to my studio and prioritize.
Yeah, Ben, next time I'm gonna put call forwarding on my cell phone and just when
what you need to do is you need to tell Scott that you need it for the show.
Don't even enable him.
Start doing it the right way.
Oh my goodness.
Or the smart way, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
No, but I wish I knew more about this stuff because a number of times he's asked me about like, oh, what kind of neck should I get on my guitar? What type of wood should this be? And it's like, it's incredible to me because as a violinist, our job is to kind of have an idea of what we want to sound like, how we like the instrument to respond, and then somehow go out in the world and find it. And a violin has to be available. You can't necessarily say, oh, I want it from this maker. Well, maybe that maker doesn't have any violins for sale right now because they've all been dead for 200 or 300 years.
Does a violin find you like the wand in Harry Potter?
I think in some ways it does. Yeah, I mean, I think violins do surface at times when you have to like consider it.
I feel like guitars are like that.
Yeah, it's.
And my God! Well, listen, dead serious. So like, here's a problem. I'm assuming you're not Jewish, but I had this thing called a bar mitzvah at 13. Where we basically take all of our friends to the cleaners for all the money they have, and then you get to buy stuff frivolously. So I had like a PV Predator, which I remember when I got that. It's a Strat copy. I remember getting one, and my buddy had a Les Paul. I'm like, dude, I have literally the best guitar on earth. I said that to him, and he's like, dude, you got a fucking Strat copy. Shut the fuck up, dude. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I have a Gibson. And I remember playing his Les Paul Studio, and I was like, holy shit, this thing is the tits.
Yeah.
And I walked in, I did the bar mitzvah thing. Like my brother and I read from the Torah. We did our fucking.
I want to see video footage of this. And you and Brian.
No, you couldn't have it in the synagogue. We were way too religious for that shit. Couldn't turn it on. Thank God. And I took some of that money and I walked right into Daddy's Junkie Music in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. And I pointed, I walked right into the store and I pointed up and I saw a Gibson Nighthawk. It was like just the fucking nicest looking guitar. I didn't know anything about it. I said, I want that one. And I remember the guy at the store going, wow. To my dad, like, your son has really good taste. And like he wasn't even being facetious. He was just like, wow, he picked out the best guitar.
No, I walked in, I was like, expensive one.
I was like, that one.
Right.
Well, no, it was $900. I remember, which is what it was worth for at least 20 years, like after that. So like not a great choice value wise. Now they're finally coming in vogue. But like I was ahead of the trend, and I got the guitar. And my dad said to me, he's like, I need you to go home and think about this. I don't want you to spend this kind of money immediately. I'm like, Dad, there's nothing to think about. He's like, you only played this one. I'm like, I don't need to play any other one. This is a Gibson. This is literally, if it's good enough for Kiss, it's good enough for me. He said no. He made me go home. And then like a day later, I'm like, can I go get the guitar now? He's like, well, did you sleep? I'm like, Dad, we're very different people. And I still love that fucking guitar.
You got it, so it was
I still
great.
love it.
Yeah. So like I feel like that, like, so I kind of grew up playing whatever I could afford to get, but like I've met like, you know, people and like kids that tell me like, oh yeah, I have this guitar, or like even like family or friends and their kids and stuff playing the guitars that they were given to learn on. And I'm like, man, like some of these like $99 guitar, like you can't play them. Like the intonation it's like you can't play it. Like so many instruments you can't play. And I'm just like, this is why these kids like pick up these instruments and they're like, no, I don't like playing guitar. I'm like, no, you don't like playing guitar because you've never sat in my room and played one of my guitars. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
sure. Yeah.
Well, it's like sitting in a chair with like a fucking prosthetic thumb that just goes right up your asshole one day.
it was last year, like in the right when everything was kind of shutting down and no one was really doing a bunch, but I was cleaning up my basement. I found my first guitar that I got when I was 9. It was a $100 Gremlin, not even like a name brand cheap guitar. And I strung it up, I set it up, and I made like a Facebook video and I recorded a song with it. And I'm not gonna lie, after like setting it up with new strings, I made it sound pretty good. It was like literally the pickups held in with like tape because the screws and the springs are gone 20 years ago. But if you actually, I think that 100%.
We need to find this
if
video.
Your instrument isn't set up right, it doesn't matter how expensive it is. You're
That's
not going to enjoy
true.
playing it. If it's badly insulated, if the strings are old, like there's no salvaging that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is definitely a threshold where if it's got plastic strings and like like
See, so like my mom was stupid because she had a beautiful guitar that because when she graduated high school and she was in Chicago, so which was she was near the Chicago Music Exchange, which is a fucking phenomenal store still to this day. And
I love that store.
My mom was like, "Hey, I want to be a classical pianist," and my grandfather was like, "Here's a guitar." And she got this beautiful 1965 Epiphone FT45 Cortez, which to this day, and Cory knows, it's the best acoustic ever.
Yeah.
And it was in pristine condition. And now it looks beautifully relicked, but it's only relicked because my mom let me and my fucking stupid brother play the goddamn guitar instead of just taking care of it. She took perfect care of it from the 60s until like the 80s. And then it was just like, nah, I'm gonna let my dumb fucking children touch this fucking shit. And I remember getting like a brace fixed in it, and my buddy was like, oh, this is exactly how you want a 60s guitar to look. I'm like, no, that's what I did to it. And then even worse, I fucking put the case in my attic, and I got a little bit of fucking mold. And I take the case out, and one of the 3 cases out of my hundreds of cases is this case. And it turns out my mom always complained because she's like, you know what? This guitar doesn't fit in here. You want to know why? It was a fucking 50s lifting case made for a 1950s Les Paul, and it's like a $5,000 case. So I destroyed my mom's guitar and case. Don't let your children play nice shit, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah. Put a lock on your
let
music
them play
room.
the $1,000 shit, but not the fucking 60s Epiphone. Take it away.
But yeah, so like my last, I think I was playing my nephew's guitar, and the dot inlays weren't even level, like in the middle of the frets. Like, dude, I'm telling you, I can set up a guitar pretty well.
Yeah.
And I worked on this thing for like over like 2 hours, like trying to intonate it, and I realized that the frets weren't even like you couldn't intonate it. It was just like it was just an Amazon guitar, and this is what like people are giving like kids to like play this. You'll enjoy playing guitar. No, they won't. Not if you play something like that. You just get discouraged.
Well, you bring up a really good point. I mean, when I was in retail, I used to always tell people there's two levels. There is a level where that you should think about. The first level is like the $300 to $400 range. Like, buy a guitar that's good enough where you're not offended by how it plays. Where it's intonated, you're able to show up to a band practice, and even if you're a great guitarist,
$300-$400 you're in.
Yeah, and then if you decide you want to be a big boy or a big girl, you get $1,000+ guitar once you graduate. But if you get something less than that, not only are you never going to be able to sell it, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like, at least buy a guitar you can get out of for pretty close to the same amount that you bought it for. Yeah. Whereas those $150 like Squire packs, they're worth like $10 on Marketplace the second you leave the store.
My main guitar for almost my entire life, probably since I was 16 or so, has been a Les Paul Special, which is a $700-800 guitar. It beats out guitars that cost 3 times as much. I don't know what it is for me. Just for me, it fits. It plays amazing. The pickups are phenomenal. It's super versatile. I've used that. I have more expensive guitars now, and I have a lot. I buy flavors for guitars. Like, I have one that can do the Strat stuff.
Yeah, that's how I am.
Things.
I call them the 4 horsemen.
Yeah, actually, I have a PRS for the first time in my life.
Is that a 7-string, dude?
Yeah, it's a 7-string PRS.
Did Matt get you one of that?
Yeah. He came in and recorded with it, and I was like, I'm gonna buy that off of you now.
They sound pretty good right off the line, right?
Yeah, I don't usually like PRS, but I needed a 7-string, and that thing's dope. But yeah, I like to buy something that, like, if I need this sound, I don't want to have to tweak it in a mix. So, like, that's why I bought the Music Man bass, because I was playing this jazz bass over here, trying to get like a metal tone, and it's just like, it gets to a certain point where you're like, all right, they make instruments for this sound. Like, invest in it. It will save you a headache, down the road. If you're trying to make something fit into a mold that it doesn't belong in. So that's why I don't own a ton of guitars. I don't know, like probably 15 guitars total, acoustics, basses, everything, all in. But every single one has a purpose.
For a lot of people, that's a ton of guitars.
It's true.
For a violinist, it's a ton of instruments.
I think that's a pretty.
Oh, is that the excuse you're using now? Because I used that a long time ago. Get your own excuse,
you don't own a studio. There's a studio in your guitar room.
Yeah, that's accurate.
That is the summary of Ben's.
But yeah, I mean, I think that, like you said, like, there's definitely a threshold where you gotta be able to. The tool has to do what you need it to do. So if you're trying to, be a professional musician with a $200 guitar, you're not going to get very far. It's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, just you fight it all the time. And anybody that says, "Oh, I tried guitar, I really didn't like it," you haven't found your guitar yet.
You know what really helps too?
That's it.
Money.
Because money it's a lot. Yeah.
Buy yourself those $3,000 piece focals. Go get yourself a fucking Gibson, and make sure you get the nicest Apollo DAW. If you don't know what it is, take the class for $5,000 on Berkeley Online, like Siobhán, and then go stare at a fucking Mac in a store when it's just a pinwheel, all right, of death with nothing loading for 7 hours, and then talk to me.
I will take the fall for enabling Brock to be a little bit fancy, because that's my approach. I've always been that way, and this is an Anne Marieism. It's like, if you're going to do something, have it like, I was very lucky. I got a great instrument when I was young, and it's you're all right. It's the same with violin. You have to work so much harder to pull something out of an instrument when it doesn't respond well to the things you want to do. And when you have the ear where you hear what you want to get out of something, it's a lot harder to work with something that really does not respond the right way.
There's something to be said, though, for learning on a piece of shit.
Say, yep.
Oh yeah,
and then
in terms
getting
of your
a nice
skill,
guitar.
Totally right.
For sure.
For your skill, yeah. I mean, if you can learn how to make something sound great, that will definitely help your.
Well,
technique.
the great thing was when we
to
did
an extent, but you can't play an unintonated piece of crap that literally doesn't matter how you set it up. If you strum a G chord, every single thing is out of tune.
Yeah. But how awesome was it? Listen, I was very happy for you guys. Like, we got to a point where, like, Siobhán used to fly up here to record with us, which we did.
I'm shamelessly
we were fucking
pouring out more wine,
leading
by the way.
blind or whatever. And Scott was like, "Do you think that Brock and Siobhán could record the violin at their places?" Like, yeah, dude. He's like, and I remember saying to him, like, yeah, just send her a U87 and a 414, and then he sent you guys 2 414s. He's like, "Oh, I saw a matched pair, so that sounded like it'd be better for things." And
It's
I'm like,
definitely
man,
better. So now we got one both places, one in
yeah,
Miami,
but
one
the great
here.
thing is that you know, it was 100% worth it because even though, you know, that's a crazy amount of money on mics, you guys not only used it, but everything you sent has been fucking perfect because you know what? You did start out with shit. You started at the bottom and now you're here. And
I'll
but
correct
you
that.
got into a point where, you know what? And Scott said this to me, like when he sent me a pair of Match C12s. He said that my mixes and my songs earned like where I could actually say, I think it could make a difference for me. Whereas, like, you know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I couldn't even justify having the quality of microphones that I had because I don't think I could have told the difference.
But even with microphones, what I've learned, especially from Brock, so to correct what you're saying, everything sounds great when Brock is helping me. And then there's the stuff that I'm sure you both can hear I've done when Brock is not around. And Brock listens, he's like, where did you put these microphones? It sounds like a box. Where was this in this room? And he's like giving me every list of all the things I did wrong with mic placement. And with microphones, it's like an instrument. I've learned so much about that too. It's not just having the microphone, it's where you're going to put it.
Well,
Figuring out
and
designing
every
the
microphone's
sound.
different for everybody. So, like, you could have, like, a $2,000 microphone, and then you could have, like, a $200 microphone, and, like, the $2,000 microphone might sound incredible on somebody, and then next time, the $200 mic, like, there's a lot
Or
of
in
people,
the
like
room.
Bono, I think,
Different
is one of
rooms,
those guys that only uses SM57s to record. Because
I mean, that's an incredible microphone, though. People don't give it enough credit. An
no,
SM57
of course not,
is
dude.
an incredible.
Sounds fucking insane.
Yeah. But like for me, even for violin, right? Like the U87 is a more expensive microphone. I actually prefer the sound of the 414. So I always love using that.
So
and
do I,
you know,
yeah.
you might look at it and say, oh, well, one is 3 times the price of the other. But
Corey
Well, they're
actually
also
ruined
different tools because the thing is, that's what I've learned is that it's more expensive isn't necessarily better, but it may afford you more things. So like the 414 may color better with your violin in some cases, but the
Right.
U87, like I gotta tell you, as a holistic microphone, like just to put in front of like a bunch of people in my studio.
Oh, sure.
Almost everybody
It's-
sounds
yeah,
awesome on my U87 versus the 414 is a way pickier microphone to my ears. As far as like when I've set it up for people, I'm
Well,
like
listen, I'm
almost all
still
the
an
time I
amateur
like
with microphones,
the U87 better. But the 414 is way better on some things, and in your case, like the violin, you know,
I was
every
gonna
time
say,
for you.
like Corey ruined the U87 for me because he said he's like, oh, I don't know, it's kind of harsh in the high end, like well, I think you said like 2 or 3K or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like harsh.
Yep.
I never heard it until he said that,
Sorry.
and then now like every time I use it, I'm like, man,
Yeah.
it really is, man. It's like so like just cuts right through your ear.
I've never been able to get the U87 to work as like I wanted to.
Well,
I'm
the
always-
thing,
I think it's better far away.
but
Yeah,
here's something
yeah,
crazy:
sure.
is like the C12, for example, is so crisp and has so much presence, but it has like this beautiful, like slightly boosted mid that it's almost like it's already EQ'd right out of it, like where you just basically just drop it in the mix and like there you go.
That's
And
like
it's
the
one of those
ribbon
things where
mic
you
I
listen to
just
it by
got.
itself, you're like that could never work, but then like you put it
Yeah.
in, you're like
You also
that's
got to remember,
perfect.
mic placement is a huge part
Indeed.
of it. Like I just find with the U87 on vocals, on a lot of singers, there is just a little bit too much bite in the upper mids that I end up cutting and almost killing some tone. That might just be me. It might just be, you know, the
I'm just gonna
singers
use the
that's
C12
on.
from now on, Corey. You could have just told me directly. You didn't have to do this on the show. Like,
Isn't
just
the
tell me to use
C12
the
like a
C12. I
crazy
have it set up
mic,
over
though?
there.
You know,
It's
you
just an
listen.
overhead.
You listen and then you decide and you move the mic around. But without getting, I don't know, our listeners are
Ben
like, what
just
the fuck
forgets
are you
mic
guys
placement.
talking to about right now?
We don't give a shit about microphones.
We don't even give a shit about our listeners. They're all done.
I guarantee
Listen.
you, what they want to hear about is
All
what
we're
is
saying-
what is Starset up to, Brock?
yeah, let's get back to that, I guess. Sorry.
I mean, the 4th record. Yeah.
Okay, can we
Fascinating.
elaborate?
That's it.
A man of many
Other
words.
than that, like, we're hopefully going to start touring. Maybe halfway through July. Hoping.
I have one of the
I don't know when
records on
this
my wall,
episode's going
and
to come
it's-
out, but
It's turquoise. What color is this record going to be?
It's a
I
good
have no
question. I
idea.
don't even know that.
none more black.
None more black.
As black as it can be.
So
No, I don't know.
What's the status of this new record? Like, you know, is it?
I heard a
has this
Zeppelin song on it. Like, what was that like?
Is that on the record or is that a separate thing?
Is that separate? Are you guys just doing that
It's
as a
separate.
single, or is that a
Yeah.
record thing?
No, it's separate. That was through Amazon Music. So, yeah, I mean, been working on it for a long time. Dustin actually built a cabin in Salem, but next to like a lake, that he moved his studio, and he just sold his place here in Columbus.
Oh, he
And-
did? I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah, he
So
just
there is
sold
one
it,
set
like-
of focals there now.
They were
Fucking liar.
in Columbus. They
No,
were
but
in
not
Columbus.
anymore.
Now they're not. No, now they're. Oh
There's
yeah,
just
okay. I
one
see what
now,
you're
so
saying.
currently I'm correct.
He built the cabin for the studio, or just this was an addition that.
I mean, he built a cabin because he wanted a cabin up by his hometown.
Mm-hmm.
That's where his bar is.
And he was
Does he
going
want to talk to the
by his bar,
aliens?
and he was going to Airbnb it out, but then like COVID and everything happened, and then he kept building the cabin, and then he was like, why the heck am I like paying mortgage on a place in Ohio when he basically moved to Salem to run his bar? Because once COVID happened, like employees wouldn't, like, you couldn't get people to work, and then maybe he couldn't have employees working, so it was just like him and a couple other people like doing takeout stuff. And anyway, so he moved there to like basically keep his bar afloat, and then build a cabin, and
then that turned into the
then it turned into
whatever,
like the studio. Yeah,
the
he
writing
moved
studio.
He moved his studio up there, and I think we're about like a week or so out, maybe. I don't know when this episode's going to come out, but it's probably
about a week.
Okay, so yeah,
Any minute now.
and then it goes off to mixing. When it's
Wow.
going to be released, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it good?
It's low, right? I mean, you can at least talk about some of the guitar stuff,
Okay,
right?
so yeah, like Dustin, he hit me up the other day, and he was like, "Hey, man, just a heads up. There's some songs. There's a couple songs that are in drop E, 8-string, and like." So I immediately like emailed my rep at PRS. I said, "Yo, man, what do you got?" And basically, I came up with like.
Did they send you a bass?
Right, exactly. That's what I said.
Like, why
I'm
don't you
like,
just play
be
a bass
player.
at that point? Like what's the
Right.
point? I don't understand. You're just stepping on a bass player's dick. I really don't get it, dude. I don't understand.
Yeah, so what is Ron going to play? Like, what is Ron
Yeah,
going to
what
play?
would
Like,
Ron
the
play?
The high part.
The baritone bass, the bass, the double
Well,
bass.
the thing
I
is,
don't
it's
know.
Is he gonna find the brown note on this one? I feel like an E below E below E. It's gotta be the brown note territory.
it's more of like a noise that just like for like percussive kind of like genty kind of riffs, I guess. But I'm with you, man. Like there's no like actual note to a guitar when you tune it to E. So it's kind of cool
You
because
mean E
I'm
below
excited
E?
for it. Yeah, and like an octave down guitar basically is what I'm playing.
You mean a bass?
It's basically, yeah.
Basically a bass.
But our bass is down tuned too.
So he's basically subsonic.
Well, he's
dude, listen,
he's not
that's like
down an octave.
literally-
He goes down to like
that's
an
a
A.
crazy level low.
Yeah, I mean it's an 8-string.
You
It's
guys
an
might as well just
8-string
call
kinda
yourselves the
sound.
standing waves.
You're full of jokes today.
I'm kind of I'm excited to try to accomplish it. Whether we play these songs live or not, I don't know. The ones that are in E, but I like a challenge because you have to get an E to not sound like the band that you saw that tuned to E. Like the one that you're like, oh my God, what are they tuning? It's like just noise. That's what I don't want. So, I mean, we've tuned Manifest is in drop G. That's pretty low. A couple of our songs like Frequency and Satellite are drop F sharp. So
Have
it's
you
only
seen the
like
show
a step down.
Metalocalypse?
Yeah.
Dude, have you gone down the Loreana Trench? Because that's where, dude, if you want to make the heaviest record ever, you got to go
I don't
down
know.
to the Loreana Trench.
I'm with you, man. But like,
I can't wait to hear that.
I mean, I'm interested to
don't-
hear what it sounds like.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't even picture that, in my ears.
You should get a Chapman stick.
Yeah, right.
Have you seen a Chapman stick? No, so dude, it's like half like bass in the middle, and then it's guitar on like each side, so you can kind of like tap bass, but also guitar. Like there's like the dude Tony Levin from Peter Gabriel. I think Felix Martin plays one sometimes, but like you could do all
Like-
kinds of banana shit with it. But it's like totally you could play stuff in that range.
dude, like I honestly a 7-string breaks my brain. I don't know what it is, but that one extra low string, all of a sudden my brain like turns off and I can't.
But why wouldn't you just tune
I don't know
a
where,
7-string down lower?
I mean, yeah, I do. But what
Instead of
I'm saying
the
is
A-string.
like, but like say you do have a standard guitar under that low 7th string. But for some reason, like my brain no longer sees the patterns. It's always
tricky.
been a struggle. I've always struggled with it. I can play a 7-string, of course.
Because you're not
but
Steve Vai. Because that's how I feel you need it. Like, that's the only excuse to me for playing a 7-string guitar, is when 6 strings just is not enough. Not because you need to detune. If you're going to detune, just detune. Like, that's how I feel about it. Like, if you're playing an 8-string and you're toasting a bossy, okay. Animals as leaders. I don't like your stuff, but it makes my brain hurt. I understand. But, like, if you're just trying to play it in the corn range, be a man and just tune down. Typo Negative was doing it. They were playing.
Yeah, but you can't play corn
grow up,
without a 7
grow
string.
up and be a man. And
You can't play
stepping
corn
on your
without a
bass player's
7-string,
dick.
Benny. That's all I'm saying. You need to play. God, I can't even remember the song now. But they use like the high string, the low string to play corn.
So yeah, you need the range. In other words, so you need the high stuff too.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Anyway,
Stick with my standard tuning. Maybe I'll drop.
This is why you
where
need a
I'm
DJ.
at.
Drop it down to E flat there sometimes.
You can go as low as high as you want with an iPod all the time.
but when you drop a 7-string to drop tuning, it for some reason like the boxes get way easier to kind of just like find your way around. But like a standard tune 7-string, I don't know. I can't get my mind around it.
See, I don't know. As a violinist, I can't imagine. I've only ever really had to play in a different tuning once for a project I actually did with a guitar player who wrote a violin part. But it was all like she just wanted my whole violin tuned down a half step. But if I had one string that was tuned down by like a different amount than the rest of the strings, I don't know that I could do it. Because at least if it's the same, every string
Well,
is
you're
just
not
tuned
chording.
I know what we're doing, Corey.
down. Oh, no. God.
We're writing a song. We're going to have Siobhán doing alternate tuning.
Gent violin, dude.
Dude, how cool would it be? Oh my God, Brock, get her on the 5-string and
Yeah.
tune
Oh my
her
gosh.
fucking weird.
Dude, there's some
She'll
people
figure
out
it
there
out.
that
See,
play
then
a
she'll be all
5-string.
angry. Like she'll be like, "But here's what you need to do."
You
what
love it
Rusty
when I'm
Cooley
angry,
said:
though.
use
Yeah.
your music theory to swim back to shore with your knowledge and be able to go play through your Kemper and then start doing crazy shit tuned to fifths. instead
One
of
day
fourths.
we're going to switch spots. I tell this to Brock all the time. I'm going to throw you in the studio and yell at you the way you yell at me. And we're going to see what happens. Like how many meltdowns there are, how many
he's
screaming
gonna
fights.
cry and say, "I can't do it," and then you're gonna be like, and you're just gonna play, and it's
I
gonna be
grew up with
phenomenal.
Brian Goodman.
And
I
then
fucking checkmate
you're-
all of you.
Siobhan's
You
gonna
think
play.
that you
It's gonna
guys
be
are going to say anything
phenomenal.
that's going to hurt my feelings? Brian literally threatened our relationship on a daily basis. And I cared about him at one point.
We need to have an episode with Brian. Like somehow we have to create
Do
a
we?
game where
If we do, he's bringing me beer from his brewery to drink during it because I don't want to deal with that shit sober. There's no way.
Actually, I think we should
I'm-
we should have a drinking game if we have Brian on.
I will be playing
everyone
a game
can
by
become more
myself while
tolerable.
you and Brian talk because that would be a nightmare.
Dude, look at how mad Corey's getting already. Everyone's
he's,
like, we wanna
he's
see
getting
this.
heated. Yeah.
It's like the Mayweather
Siobhan
fight.
knows. Siobhan's been in a session with you guys.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Anne Marie was so excited. She's like, look at them go.
My mom loves a
She
good
still to
drama.
this day like talks about our rebuttals to one another. Like it was like she was enjoying the moment. Like it was like, no, we actually were fighting and being very immature towards one another. She's like, no, you guys were great.
Brock, in the studio, what's your most combative experience when working on a project?
Probably with me.
Meow.
Man, I don't know. Probably working with Siobhan.
Yeah.
Does she ever go like, you're playing in the wrong mode? You should have listened to your first teacher that first lesson. It's in the wrong mode.
I mean, in that case, and like people yell, like, so I'll like be in here like jamming, like doing whatever to whatever Spotify song I have playing. And I'll hear her yell across the house, "That was the wrong note." I'm like, fuck you, man. Like,
No, but hold on. And then you need to, here's the best rebuttal
That's
ever.
wrong.
It's
You're
just
not doing it
jazz,
right.
baby.
that's what I say.
It's
does
just
say
jazz, baby. It's a non-diatonic note. I meant to do it.
Been hanging out with Rodolfo too much.
Playing 443 just to fuck with her.
Oh my gosh.
Babe, I'm
Yeah.
in tune with the universe.
No, but Brock is a great engineer. I mean, he's a, even though we get in quibbles or whatever, because we each have our own way of working. I mean, he's like, he's very good at getting people to, like when he helps record me, like get me to do my best version.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's a mindset, man. Like people are great. A lot of people can be great musicians, but the second you put a microphone on them, like it's the same as me. Like I'm super introverted. So when you guys point this, like I got this like camera right here that's pointing at me for this whole thing, I feel like I'm a different person than when there's not a camera.
Alexa's like, recording. It's just us now.
Yeah. So like you kind of have to get people to come out of their shell, and especially in a studio, like the second you put some cans on somebody and you say sing into this microphone, let's get some let's get a level going. They're like check, instead of like just singing.
Yeah.
And then
can we put a plug for something you guys did? Because one of the most impressive things I've ever heard in my entire life, and I'm the most proud of, like literally is a song called Decomposing Composers, which is kind of like the Siobhán Comes Out to Play song, where we kind of designed it as like the part of the set, if you will, where we're like, we have this shreddalistic violinist.
She cried during recording that.
Yeah, we recorded Paganini like 2 times.
And then you lost it.
And she keeps saying that it's like, it's too sleepy. It's blah, 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 blah. And then finally, she sends us the tracks at 166 BPM, which is literally like above blast speeds. And I listen to it now, and it's the most ferocious playing. And it sounds sonically incredible, and the playing's incredible. And like, the fact that you can even do that is mind-numbing.
Well, Brock got to see the behind the scenes where I had a full-on meltdown. I had like a religious experience afterwards. I'm like, I don't know if I can play violin anymore.
But hold on,
I'm not good enough.
I've never heard anyone play. That's one of my favorite songs ever. Is Paganini's the Caprice? Like, is it his 5th Caprice in A minor? Yes, that's what we play. That's literally one of my favorite songs. It was in Crossroads. You see Steve
Beethoven.
Right, Ben was like name dropping composers that were not even on the piece, but that's okay.
I forgot. All right, whatever. But this is Paganini, and it was from the movie. You see in the movie Crossroads, like Jason Becker does it. It's kind of like the Mount Everest of guitar playing, like, but everyone's been to the summit. But like, if you listen to Siobhán on Chapter 3 from Lost Symphony, like I say, take the fucking Pepsi challenge. Find me somebody faster on the internet that plays it. And maybe there's some fucking kid in Asia that's doing it, but I am unaware of it at the moment.
Yeah, the problem with like Siobhán doesn't understand like the new age of recording, where it's like, okay, take this 4 bar, ready, go. Okay, take this next 4, go. She doesn't do it that way because it's not natural. So you have to do a complete take.
Well, that's the thing that's amazing about her, because we all know we could cheat our way, and there's like lip syncing for guitars.
She won't do it.
She won't. No. She's like, I'm literally going to run the entire triathlon just to practice.
Well, no, that's the way she wants it, because the voicing, and if you listen to like anybody recording that, there's delays in shifting with the finger shifts. You hear it. Like even the greatest like recordings of Paganini, they have to shift fingers, and if it's just like straight to the grid, it's fake. You know what I mean? So
right.
Yeah. So no, it was hard to do, but yeah, Brock got to see the behind the scenes.
It's literally the hardest sounding thing I think I've ever been a part of. Like if you listen to that song, it's emotionally and like sonically exhausting. Like, I mean it. It's like 10 minutes long of just Siobhán being like, fuck
really
your
selling that track.
Right. We're making everyone
it's amazing because first off, Jeff Loomis plays on it. Jimmy Bell plays on it. Joey Concepcion plays on it. Matt LaPierre fucking plays unbelievable on it. And yet, dare I say, Siobhán still kicks everyone's ass.
Well,
it's like one of those songs that it just keeps going and going.
Brock
and
is
you're
like, I don't get it, but
we
okay.
understand you're better than all of us. But
and then it changes tempo and goes right to Schubert. It's like, wow, now it's in 6.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
And we threw an interlude at the end just to make it a little longer.
Yeah, that's also an overloading Jason Becker-esque interlude. That was totally
I love
an homage.
that interlude. I can't wait for people to hear all this, because I think it's going to be so cool. I mean, that really is a truly classical reimagining of like so many. And what Joey did was awesome. Like, and that it's original, but it's
Well,
like so
it's totally an
classical
homage
sounding.
to Jason Becker. Like, it was named like Air on a something or whatever. I'm like, okay, Mr. Listen to Jason Becker, but it fucking is awesome. I mean, listen, I could never write that in a million years, so God bless that kid. And he just pulls it out. The funny part is, I love seeing the mortality of someone like Joey Concepcion because he can play the most ridiculous arpeggios, but the kid can't play fucking simple brums. Like as well as Cory or myself. And it's not that it's bad, but he's not locked in like we are. It's not locked in like we are, but he can play like Jeff Loomis, locking with any arpeggio, like immortal, like fucking sage
Can't play the
level.
easy stuff.
But just like the like his brain's like, what are you doing? Brum, 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 brum. I'm like, fuck you, man. But I don't think he could even think that simply. Like it's not possible for him. He's like, why would you ever play a whole note? That seems just so basic.
Well, no, I mean, it sometimes takes more focus to play the slow stuff. And I used to struggle with that too. Like as when I was learning is like your brain, if you're playing something that's fast enough, it's like you're at least keeping up with the speed of your brain, right? But then if you play something slow, you get distracted and then you like fuck up the slow stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm like that. Playing to a
me.
slow click is such good practice.
Oh my God, dude! Like, listen, that's one of the things I've completely learned, and I said again when I was at a lesson with Paul.
It's all
Geary.
about timing.
I was like, dude, start slow. You gotta start slow because if you can't play slow, you can't. And it's so amazing because so many people are trying to be fast all the time that if you try to slow them down, like even these guys that could do the sweep picking, they can't do it slow, and it's amazing to see. And I gotta tell you that I play great slow.
Good job.
I stay in my lane.
That's good. That's good advice.
Well, I don't know what direction we were going in, but we were talking about
Slow.
Starset,
Whatever direction we were
about
going in, it
gear,
was
what's
very
happening
slow.
with Starset. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this year's been weird for Starset, of course, because we weren't touring, and it's kind of kicked the fourth album into being written and trying to figure out when we're all going to go back to playing. It looks like later in the summer, hopefully in
With
the fall. We'll do some
Metallica!
stuff. Yeah, I mean, some of
that'll
the
be
festivals
cool.
have been announced, so that'll be super cool.
Well, one thing that we've asked you, Siobhán, already, and we asked Adam, is just like favorite tour stories. So, like, Brock, you got to give us something here.
That's a good question.
In all the history of Starset, what's the craziest and or coolest thing that's happened, or weirdest thing that's happened?
Man. I mean, I got a crazy one. I remember Siobhán was in the band. We were getting ready to get on our bus. We were hanging outside of our bus. I can't remember what city it was in. Man. But there was this crackhead.
Oh, this was in San Diego.
San Diego, okay. And he was talking to a lamppost. And, I understand, man, like, addiction is a crazy thing. And, like, he wasn't there. His mind was not there. I felt really bad for the guy. But he came over, and we're all, like, hanging outside the bus. And our guy, Ryan, our sound guy, he's like, okay, guys, let's get on the bus. So they get on, and this guy's, like, kind of yelling at us and doing, like, crazy things. And basically he looks at Siobhán, and he goes, hey! And then he pulls his pants down. And like starts exposing himself to Siobhán as she's like getting on the bus. And I lost it. And I like grabbed this dude by his throat. And then like, and then Adam grabbed me and was like, hey man, he's not in the right mind. Like there's something wrong with this guy. And then I thought about it later. And I'm like, you're right. Like he's not even a person anymore. Like, this dude was just so lost. But
Siobhán,
like,
was that the moment you knew you wanted to be with him forever?
I think we might have already been engaged at that point. I'm not sure.
It's like,
Yeah, I
oh
think
my
so.
God, he's willing to defend me to death, even against
no, this
crackheads.
was just like,
He's
I
willing
would
to
have did
defend
this
me
for
against
anybody.
another
I would have
artist,
did
yeah.
it for anybody. Like this guy just basically pulled out his junk and like ran up behind Siobhán. I
It's a little
lost
scary.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Full blown Johnson. It's a Johnson and Johnson.
Well, I can honestly say that's not the story I expected.
That was definitely a weird
Went a
one.
different direction than I
bet you have some
anticipated.
like funny stories of like the early days though, like pre-bus. I don't know, because you guys are always telling funny stories, and I'm like,
I know,
dying
but the
laughing.
thing is, like, I'm not great at like thinking of the stories.
Yeah, Adam is definitely the
There's
one that's
so
good
many
at
sto-
retelling
yeah.
the stories.
He remembers
He's got
everything.
like detail
Adam
to the
will
T.
remember everything.
Yeah.
But that was like that's definitely a crazy story.
I agree.
He like trying to jump onto the bus with his pants down, follow Siobhán onto the bus. That's also why I grabbed him by the throat, because like I could only get one arm up there to pull him out of the door of the bus.
Yeah, and you got to be careful where you're reaching and grabbing too. So it could have gone way worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if you guys need to hire security, I'm pretty open and free for this next tour. I'm happy to keep the people.
Would you have eviscerated that gentleman for them?
I mean, I bet Cory would have defended me.
Probably. I don't know.
I actually got to properly use the word eviscerate.
There you go. Good job.
Google
it. Wouldn't the properly be? Isn't that like when you actually pull someone's guts out?
No, dick. When you actually cut someone's dick off, is to eviscerate them.
Oh, really? I didn't know that was the technical.
I just thought of a story.
Viscera.
Okay, so there's a couple of them. The first time I'm like hiding backstage. We're playing outdoor. It's Rock on the Range. And like I'm hiding behind my guitar vault, I'm warming up, and then I'm like, all right, this is our time, our countdown's coming, and I walk out, and the second I turn the corner, I look up, and there's like literally a stadium full of people, and that's the first time I ever experienced this. And like I'm supposed to be like a serious spaceman at this time. I literally could not stop smiling. This was the coolest experience I've ever had in my life, like a stadium full of people. It was because we were like afternoon main stage for the first time ever of Rock on the Range, which is in our hometown.
That was
Columbus.
a huge show. I remember that.
It was insane. It was the coolest thing I've ever been a part of. And then like I think it was a couple shows later, I'm like trying to do the cool thing back behind my vault, warming up, and I turn the corner and I walk out on stage and I realize I forgot to take my sunglasses off.
That was
and
my
they're
favorite.
They're underneath my
helmet.
space helmet.
So there's like pictures
I promise
of Brock
you,
with
if
like,
you Google it, you can find the pictures. To
like
this.
reflective Ray-Ban sunglasses under
like
a space
Ray-Ban
helmet. Like,
sunglasses underneath this fucking space helmet thing.
plenty of mishaps on Starset.
Do you get
tours.
demerits for that?
I get made fun of all the time for that.
Yeah. There was one time, like in I think our last Europe tour, it was more of a playing thing where because you've got all these strings hanging off your thing. Remember, you had your like moment where the strings like hit your guitar and made this like ridiculous sound in the middle of the show.
Oh, they do it all the time. Yeah, we call them merps. Merp.
Yeah.
Like I'll be rocking out, and then the string will like come in a slow part, and like I'll be done playing the part, but the string will land, or my string from the suit will land on the guitar string and go like. Meh.
You know what I think you should do? I've been thinking about like how would I actually solve your problem with your band? Just play a 6-string guitar and get a chaos pad like Matt Bellamy from Muse. And then just
we talked about those.
I'm putting it on your guitar. You're like and play a normal guitar. But then if you're gonna step on the bass, you step like up with your sine wave or whatever weird thing, and you can make it like light up so that like you can make it look like it's a pattern. And then you can control all the lights that take DMX 512 protocol as it's like all hooked in MIDI, and then you can just be one with everything on stage.
Muse is insane live, by the way.
And by the way,
So
that's
good.
an awesome idea because literally, dude, like why play an 8-string when you can just play like the bottom on the keyboard? Or use a whammy pedal, dude. Use a whammy pedal and just put an octave lower on it on a normal guitar. Just be like, here you go, man. Play single notes.
We've
you've
thought
tried
about
that.
that, and we talked about that, and I have a guitar build that's actually being that we're going to incorporate MIDI into.
Billy Gibbons does that, dude. He has his bass player play a guitar that plays bass like certain, like it plays it down lower through a guitar with like a MIDI system. It's bananas.
Yeah.
He plays 3 strings that are guitar normal and 3 strings that are bass. So he plays rhythm guitar and bass simultaneously on one guitar.
Super
Too
cool.
much work.
Amazing.
Technology, man.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, it's amazing what people do.
I think I know I'm looking forward to checking out some new Starset shows this year. Very
Yeah,
exciting.
man. I'd be excited to see you guys in person. And Brock, like, you guys got to come to Boston.
We do. I've told Brock so many times, I'm like, you know what? You need to be in Ben's guitar room and just your house. It's not even the one room that everybody sees.
Yeah, dude. I got so many guitars for you to try out, and like we can geek out forever. And I have so many pickups and amps and things. And
I'm also like super OCD about the setup of the guitars. So like, is each one set up all the time, ready to go?
I try, but we're in New England, and I try to keep a climate control. But if you want to set them up, I'll totally give you Scooby snacks.
Here's
I'm not that good at setting shit up. So
here's $150 guitar or 150 guitars that need set up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
some of them are actually set up pretty fucking awesome.
Oh,
But it's
I
usually
believe
just
it.
because God loves me, not because I've done anything right. But I keep everything climate controlled, so like everything's at a perfect relative humidity. And I do try to get things like if there's anything that needs attention, I usually have attention. Like like I have a 12-string Gibson, and it was like bowing forward, and they're just like, don't keep it tuned. I'm like, oh well, I guess that sucks, but whatever. Only tune it when you need it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I own like 20 guitars, and like the whole thing is like I only play 5 because the other 15 I don't have time to upkeep them. Yeah. Therefore, they're not fun to play. You'll set up a guitar, set it on your wall or your rack, come back a week later, and it's not the same guitar because it sat there for
well, that's part of also climate, dude.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I have everything.
And I live in a shitty apartment in Circleville, Ohio.
Well,
so.
I gotta say, one of the proudest moments is when I walked into Paul Geary's new fucking badass house in Las Vegas, and he's like, "I got the HVAC system. You told me to," because he's in the fucking desert with like 0% humidity. So like when you walk outside, it's 113 degrees. You're like, "Oh, it only feels like 80." And it's like, yeah, because it's 0% humidity. So like his poor guitars, but thankfully he has an HVAC system, but that makes a huge fucking difference. That said, I got to tell you, one of the coolest things is picking up like an 1840s or 1850s guitar, and it plays better than your Fender Teleacoustic. Like I swear to God, I have an 1845 guitar that like just plays fucking so unbelievable. And it's like, how is this thing almost 200 years old? And that like Fender only like 30 years old, and this thing plays a million times better. And I'm sure you can set it up so it's awesome, but I don't know better.
Well, that acoustic probably is done. The wood isn't flexing anymore. It's like fossilized. It's hard as a rock.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's why 200-year-old violins like Siobhan's are super sought after, because I think it's like 100 years, and then the wood is basically as hard as it's ever going to be.
Well, no, you can get wood. It starts to, you can tell how old it is by how much it's crystallized. So now they're doing this thing called topification, where they use like a water process to basically bring out supposedly, or it's like torrefication or something like that. And Martin's doing it, Taylor's doing it, but there's also a lot of people that are now doing reclaimed woods. So like, mahoganies, like they call it like sinker mahogany or sinker redwood, where they get it from underneath the water. So it's already gone through a lot of that process of what like makes the aging of the wood sound better. So there's a lot of really cool shit. Like, I mean, listen, you could even get guitars, and the wood that they found is like it's very nondescript looking, but there's like 50,000-year-old wood that they got from the goddamn permafrost. So like you can get guitars with 50,000-year-old wood. It's crazy.
What? No way. How much does that cost?
I don't know, man. But like, I mean, there's.
So you're saying I can't get this guitar?
You can. Listen, dude. There's guitars that are made like have like mastodon fucking ivory on them. There's guitars like there's something called the Tree, which was one in particular mahogany tree, and flame mahogany is called like crotch mahogany, and like or fiddleback or whatever. And it's the most beautiful. They call it the Tree because it's like 500 years old, and it like fell into like the water. Yeah.
Get off the internet, man.
They call it chick. Like, Paul Geary was like, dude, that's called chick repellent.
Chick repellent. Oh,
he was just like, he's like, stop with the goddamn chick repellent, man.
Yeah. So anyone that stuck through this episode, I hope you were able to overlook the incredible amount of nerdiness and microphone talk.
I think we got Brock out of his shell, because that's like his true, one of his true passions for sure.
But Brock, we appreciate you hanging with us. It's been long overdue. And I guess, everyone should check out Starset, obviously, and Live My Last. And
don't you think that they've already like checked out Starset? And if anything, Starset should be saying you should check out 2020.
I agree. I hope that more people.
I mean, everyone in the world knows
2020.
Starset, dude. Like, I mean, at least 2 billion.
Yeah. No, but I think
No, that's just the same 5 people.
over and over again.
however
I've done the
many millions
equation
of
with my
times.
mom and her friends, and it's not 2 billion. Trust
a
me.
buddy of mine told me that he uploaded his he made a real shitty demo for his music, uploaded it to Spotify, didn't tell anyone, but he drives a truck for a living and he just leaves it on a loop on silent, and he's been doing that for like months, and he said he's made like $300 off Spotify.
Really? Wow, I didn't realize.
Maybe that's the secret to Starset
Dude,
success.
I'm gonna
It's
go
just-
like hit up like
Interesting.
a thrift store and just buy a bunch of old computers and just set them up at my
Wait, we
place.
need to do that with Lost
It just-
Symphony.
Dude,
I did not
you
realize.
know what you should do? You should set up a Bitcoin mine, but use it as a side hustle with all the power you're fucking stealing.
Oh my gosh,
whatever gets the job done.
I guess so.
Dude, that is a serious concept for a cool James Cameron movie, dude. Like when you're like, I'm gonna fucking do all this, and I'm just gonna steal everything by just getting all these stereo systems and putting them together.
I've spent $7,000 in electricity, but I've made $300 on Spotify.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm killing it.
Exactly.
Guys, thank you. 2020-d.com. Like and subscribe. Do all those fun things. LostSymphony.com, our sponsor. Brock, you rock. Siobhán.
Thank you.
And check them out on Premeditated Destruction on Chapter 1, LostSymphony.com, because I got to tell you, so most people know Lost Symphony, like when we say guest guitarists for like having insane leads, but like Jimmy Bell is the first guy that came to mind where he called me. He's like, who's playing the guitars at the beginning? Like that craziness. Like that's some intense shit, because you totally brought this, I don't want to say gent, but like this more modern edge, but it really,
gent a little,
really
yeah.
works in the song, and it's totally different than like the way we'd been going. And I know that when I remember when we got the tracks, Cory and I said the same thing, that like, I said this, that Cory was gonna love it and that Brian was gonna fucking go and so we ended up using it only half the amount of times because we wanted to make Princess Brian happy. But that said, like if Brian had it his way, he wouldn't have even done it because it was way too new. Like this is not the sound he was looking for. Whereas like Cory and I are like, this is fucking awesome.
It didn't really fit the beat that you gave me, but I said, fuck this beat. And I wrote what I wanted to write.
Welcome to what it's like to live with Brock Richards.
It's just better not to try to be an imitator. I take what I can from different players. Eddie was certainly a big influence, but I try not to make it too obvious, and I try to base it on what I like. And there's a lot of music I like that is, as I said this earlier, it's not technical at all, but that might come out while I'm playing technical music because I want a melody that's memorable, something that fits the song. That's another thing that was so great about Eddie and the early technical players is that no matter what, it fit the song, and some players seem to forget about that.